Hello and welcome to the Center for Spiritually Integrated Arts, a Centers for Spiritual Living teaching center. I am Reverend Dr. Raymont Anderson. I am the founder and the spiritual director. Now, as you are sitting there joining us, you may have questions, any number of questions, such as, who am I? How did I get here? Spiritually integrated arts means what exactly? What is a teaching center? Well, what is Centers for Spiritual Living? What is that? What does that even mean? Or New Thought, or religious science, or science of mind and spirit? You may have any number of questions about this specific community, about the parent organization, CSL, our philosophy, our teaching, our liberation theology. Any number of questions. Feel free to send an email. We look forward to connecting more and building our virtual community, our global community. And if you haven't connected yet on social media, feel free to do so. This is your invitation now. Also, did you know that all of our Sunday messages are archived on our YouTube channel? You can watch it anytime. Now, questions about anything, such as becoming a member. What does that mean? What does membership entail? And if you live somewhere far and already belong to a spiritual community, can you be a member of more than one? The simple answer is yes, you can. Just like you can shop at more than one grocery store, you can attend or be a member of more than one gym. We are building beloved community. So you can do both. You can be a member of both. You can be involved with both. That's what being in spiritual community means. So we welcome you. We invite you. We are so appreciative that you have found this community and that you have joined us today. We bless you. We love you. We welcome you. Live long and prosper. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the rest of our Sunday message. Love you. Connect with you soon. Blessings. Namaste and greetings. We continue our discussion in the month of October, Power to the People. Today we are speaking of our personal power. The journey toward personal power is always going on within us. How power shows up and how it outpictures in our life reveals our mental equivalent. And it reveals how our quote unquote inner work is unfolding. How is it going? Supportive questions that we might want to ask ourselves include such things as, is there a hidden agenda in how I am expressing my personal power? Or how does my expression of personal power, my expression of power, how does it relate to, align with my values? When asked to pray, Ernest Holmes answered by saying, or when asked what one should pray for, Ernest Holmes responded and said, we can pray for anything that brings more life and harms no one. Anything that is life affirming for one, ideally should be life affirming for all. For me to have food is life affirming for me. But if my having food denies you the opportunity for having food, then truly mine isn't life affirming either. Even though I'm the one eating, it still isn't life affirming. So we can pray for anything as long as it brings more life, as long as it is life affirming. And in so being, it harms no one. This approach works with all of power, all that is how we use power, how we embody power, how we express power, all of it. Am I embodying, am I expressing my power in a way that brings more life-affirming experiences to the world? Does my expression of power hurt, harm, hinder, obstruct, or oppress anyone? Because if it does, then it's not really life affirming. How can I use my personal power in a more quote unquote clean, effective, efficient, and life affirming, life sustaining way? Because once again, the idea of power as a collective is not the same idea of power that we are referring to, because the collective consciousness, the idea that is still very rampant within the collective consciousness, is that power means strength and might. It means some people need to be at the bottom, for how else can I ascend if not standing on your back? If not having my boot on your neck? In order for me to be a millionaire or billionaire, then I need you to work those fields. And when one of you dies, just swap them out and put another body there. Because those bodies mean more money for me, and more money for me means more power for me. What? That is the collective consciousness idea. And even when we're not talking about bodies in the fields, are we not also understanding that corporations in many instances are merely modern day plantations where the CEOs make more money simply for waking up than their employees make for the entire 50 years that they have served the company, how is it any different? The CEO can go on vacation and do whatever they want to do and live wherever they want to live. But Joe, who's been working here for 20 years, is still struggling to make ends meet and hasn't really taken a vacation or Mary, who really doesn't have maternity leave. So it's modern day plantation. But the collective consciousness, that is the idea of power. Power for some, not for all. So how do we, who understand what this means, what it can mean in a world that works for all, how do we use our personal power to change and transform, to evolve the collective consciousness? Dr. Holmes says, peace is at the heart of God. Now, this is poetic, because if I were to ask you, well, what does it mean to be at the heart of God? Well, what does it mean for something to be at the heart of something? It means in general, it's permanently, it's actually, there are several ways when we say, so let's get to the heart of the matter. Several different possibilities of how this idea is expressed. At the heart of means it's central to, it is of great importance to, such as deep in the heart of the forest, in the central or the central part of the center of the forest, the depths of the forest. Their office is in the heart of the city. It is in the center region of, it is in the business district of, it is in the important, quote unquote, area of business for the city, etc. So when we talk about the heart of God, where, oh, where is the heart of God at? Where is a circle, circumference, nowhere, center, everywhere? Then right where you are is the heart of God. Right where I am is the heart of God, because there is no periphery in that which God is. All of it is God, so the heart of is all of it. So peace is at the heart of God, then peace is right where you are. Whether we're experiencing it or not, the absolute, in the absolute, peace is present, which means in the midst of somewhere where there is war, peace, though not expressing, is present. And because it is present, it can be embodied, it can be nurtured, it can be expressed to such a degree that war ends and is eradicated. If, key word, if it is embodied, expressed, etc. And it's easy to not. Remember what Alice Walker said last week in one of our slides? People give up their power by thinking they have none. We surrender and relinquish our peace that is at the center of God, at the heart of God, by thinking there is no peace. By not realizing that right where we are is at the heart of God. And if right where we are is the heart of God, the center of God, quote unquote, and peace is there, then peace is right where I am, even though what I feel right now is grief and sadness, loneliness. But peace is still present. So my invitation is feel what I feel while also understanding that this is there, and then doing the healing work to bridge the two so that I may then experience that peacefulness, even while potentially still being in the midst of the grief, the sadness, etc. Both and. We must understand that it is a power for good. And we must realize that this power flows through us and that the instrument of this power is our own mind. We must begin right where we are because there is no other place we could begin. So there is a power for good. Okay. It flows through us. Gotcha. Our mind is the instrument of this power, which I would simply are mentally equipped. Okay. And there's the only place we can begin is right where we are. Okay. So what are we doing to embody this? What are we doing to understand that this power, this infinite goodness, is right where we are? It is what we are. It flows through us already, whether we are consciously embodying it or not, etc. What are we? Because see, the idea is we segment things. Before enlightenment, do this, do this, do this. And then after enlightenment, do this, do this, do this. But what if all of it is the path and practice of enlightenment? Because of enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. Because chopping wood and carrying water, when the awareness is there, is enlightenment. Which means washing the dishes can very well be spiritual practice, the path of enlightenment, the accessing of our awareness of this power for good. The instrument is our mind, the time, the place, the person, right here, right now, and each of us. Like it's instead of, well, before and then after. Either or. Why can't chopping wood and carrying water both and be both the thing that is done and the enlightenment, the path, the practice that is causing it to be done? Without the separation, without the either or. This is why I say sadness and grief, anger, frustration, and peace. These feelings and this truth can coexist in the same space. And it is because of this truth that this stuff can be healed or be in a state of being healed or healing. Health and well-being is an ever ongoing thing. It's not just boom, I'm healthy, period. It's health must be maintained and sustained and nurtured. I don't breathe and I'm done. I am breathing. So healing the grief, the frustration, the loneliness, healing it happens because of the truth of what peace is at the heart of God. So how are we embodying this? What does it look like? What does it mean for you to live your regular everyday life, understanding that enlightenment is there, peace, peacefulness is there. This power that is good, this infinite goodness is there. As Dr. Holmes says, the power of God is my power. And that's present right now. No matter what else is going on, that's the truth right now. So even when we feel the most powerless, caught in addiction, I feel I have no power. The addiction has, but the power, it's there. The power that is God is there. There's a health challenge, and I feel like, but the power that God is still present, even in the midst of the health challenge, the health crisis. It's still there. It's not gone. It may not be what we feel. It may not be what we're embodying. It may not even be in our consciousness to even have the awareness of it, but it's there. Think about medicine. Years ago, people did not realize that uncleanliness, you know, sanitation had anything to do with disease. They didn't understand what germs were. They didn't understand any of this stuff. So it didn't matter how food was stored or cleaned, or we chop up the chicken and the contamination and the salmonella. And I apologize to the interpreter who was just now interpreting my gibberish. Right? So there's this thing that people are unaware of, but it's there. Long before anyone understood what oxygen was, it was there. Long before anyone understood the molecular compounds of water, H2O, the molecular compound HO was still there. Long before we had telescopes that could see, various the planets, the stars, the galaxies, they were there. So just because we're unaware of something doesn't mean it's not there. And as we do the practices to increase our awareness, we are then in greater capacity to embody that awareness, to express that awareness. So you say, well, I don't see where or how the power of God is. Okay, so look at your life right now and ask, where do I have power? Right now, you are exerting a certain amount of power, capability. Let's go back to last week's definition of the words we picked out about power. One's capabilities, one's potentialities, skill, mastery, all these things. Right now, you have the skill, you have the capabilities, the ability to be watching this right now, to join us right now, to understand the words. That's skill. There's a certain capacity to understand English, whether it's spoken, whether it's signed, whether it's written. You have the capability, the capacity to comprehend and understand. That's power. So you do have power. Then it's not that great of a stretch. Truly, it's not that great of a stretch to say, okay, well, I can identify instances where I have power already. So now let me expand my awareness to realize that the reason I have that power is because that thing that is power itself is present in, through, and as me. The power of God, the power that is God, is your power now. So let's remix this. The power that God is must be the same power that I am, the same power I use, because my power is God power. It's as simple as that. And the more we understand this and the more we can embody it, the more we can change not only our individual lives in life affirming ways, but our families, our communities, and the world so that it works for all. Breathe. So when we talk about this idea of God is a circle whose center is everywhere, circumference nowhere, attributed to Voltaire, there is a similar expression that says, an infinite sphere whose center is everywhere and whose circumference is nowhere. And this has been attributed to Marius Victorinus. Now, what does that have to do with you? What does that have to do with me? It's simply a statement that God is all there is. It's ever present right here, right now. So we are reminded that God, or whatever it is that you want to call it, the all that is, must also be all that you are. Now, whether you choose to deny it or not, that's a completely different matter. You can't escape it, though. It is what you are. So why not embrace it and live in it? Why not live in the awareness that that which it is, this infinite circle, this infinite power, this infinite presence, the all that is all that is. There's nothing other than it. And the more we embody it, the more we are able to balance this power, this presence, this love, God power, peacefulness, joy, and all that God is, because whatever is true about God is true about you. So the more we increase our awareness, that's why we gather for Sunday messages. The more we increase our awareness, that's why we take spirituality related classes. The more we expand our awareness of whatever it is, whether it's math, the more I expand my awareness of 2 plus 2 equals 4. So wait a minute. So then, okay, and also 3 plus 1 equals 4. And 5 take away 1 is, wait, and 2 times, wait a minute, what? The more we expand our awareness, the more skill, power, the more mastery, stewardship, power that we have to express in our lives. So why not dive all into the awareness, even if right now I don't see it, but are you willing to see it? I don't see how, how could there ever be a world that works for all? How is that even possible? Are you willing to see it? Are you able to give yourself the power of imagination to such a degree that you are willing to even imagine it? You can imagine a unicorn and a mermaid and a talking lion. We have cartoons and movies about that stuff. It's not that difficult to, well, I cannot understand how a lion, Simba, lions can't speak, and Zazu, and come on now. So we can imagine Ariel, Little Mermaid. We can imagine that to such a degree that someone then creates a cartoon of it and then a live action, and it's like, oh, I love that. It made me cry. But you can't give yourself the capacity to imagine a world of peace and equity and justice and food for all, and you can't even imagine that. So are we willing to give ourselves the capacity to be open at the top and open at the bottom, to evolve our awareness? You must realize that this creative power, which I am, is also the creative power which you are. For you and I are one. Said another way, you and I are expressions of oneness. There is that which is infinite oneness expressing itself as you, expressing itself as me, expressing it as each and every, it's all that there is. So this thing, this creative power is what you are, not just what you use, it is what you are, which is why you have the ability to embody it and express it. As do I, as everyone else. This is why someone such as that failed German painter, you know who I'm talking about, the little funny mustache, not Charlie Chaplin, but you know what I'm talking about. He too is a divine expression of the one, and the creative power, because it's all there is, it's also expressing as him, and we saw what he did with it. Now imagine if that individual understood and knew who and what he was as an embodiment of love and used the same creative power that he used to destroy and hurt and kill, that he used it to build and heal and support and love. Imagine what could have been different. Now, let's take him off the chessboard. Let's get rid of the chessboard altogether so there isn't even an idea of competition. There is simply the I am the embodiment of. I am a divine expression of this creative power. How am I expressing love and compassion and healing and equity and justice? How am I showing up as? So that nothing like that is ever even possible again. Because of how we are showing up, that entire consciousness of is no longer in existence. The idea of I have to take from you rather than I share with you. We share with each other because you and I are one. How do we step into our power to such an extent that we are a beneficial presence to all? But it requires us understanding that there is only one mind, right? We say this, there's only one mind, and that mind is God, and that mind is your mind. That mind is my mind. That mind is our mind right now. There is only one life, and that life is God, and that life is your life. That life is my life. That life is our life right now. There is only oneness, and that oneness is you-ness, me-ness, our-ness. It's all there is. And as long as we continue to, what did we talk about not too long ago? The idea of othering. There is nothing inherently wrong with the idea of other. I have a thumb drive and I have this other thumb drive. That's in fact what it is. One and another and other. And there's nothing wrong with that. Until, well, this thumb drive is far better than this one, so let's get rid of that one. Let's destroy it. Let's lock it up. Let's kill it, because it's another. When we compete in such a way that we need to take from another, because the other is the one who, it is their body and their blood that give me my wealth. When we do that, then we are causing greater hurt, greater harm to the planet, to ourselves, to our bodies, etc. But when we come back into the space of, well, there is only oneness. And even though that person does not like me, they may hate me, I understand who and what they are. And even if I will not speak to them for a variety of reasons, it may not be healthy for me. I'm not going to just show up at a Klan rally or Klan meeting and be like, hello, I'm Reverend Dr. Ray Anderson, and I would like to talk to you all about what it means for us to be one and the same, to be a divine expression of, why are you grabbing a rope and chasing me? I'm not doing it. It's not healthy. But it doesn't mean I cannot still hold in consciousness, pray, treat, and move my feet, knowing that there is only one mind, and that mind is their mind as well. And what I have in my mind is in the one mind. And because it is in the one mind, it is also in that mind that is theirs. So when I know oneness, even though they don't know oneness, my awareness seeps in, poetic language, it changes the collective, and at some time their consciousness must be healed as well. Just like Daryl Davis, what he does when he goes and speaks to members of the Klan and befriends them, and they befriend him, and oneness is what's demonstrated. So rather than othering them with, ah, and there may be moments of venting where it's like, oh, and you have to get it out. I get that. There's nothing wrong with that. But to stay there as an addiction, it now has become a compulsion to blame and finger point. And, well, when do I have time to come back into prayer and meditation? When do I have time to come back into the awareness of oneness, the awareness of peacefulness? If I'm so busy doing, then when do I? So once again, our invitation is to come back to this space of what is mine to do regarding this idea of my personal power. How is my personal power liberating me and liberating all? Reverend Dr. David Alexander, in his new book, has a passage where he talks about years ago when I was interviewing Bishop Dr. Yvette Flunder for a social justice conference that was being put on by the Association of Global New Thought. I asked her, what do you want a New Thought audience to know more than anything else? And she said, I love your people, your teaching, and your affirmative language and view on life. You understand the power of the word, but I need you to start using it. I need you to stop praying as if there are no lives on the line. Beloved, lives are on the line every day. Use what you got to heal that. So simply, thoughts and prayers without action don't do anything. Or are you utilizing the power, not that you have, but the power that you are, the power that has you? What are these two things? In essence, they're two versions of the same concept. What are they? Depending on how old you are, quote unquote, if you're of a certain age, then the tall, thin one, you know from a specific thing, whereas the other one may be a more generic one. Yeah. So you may know I Dream of Jeannie, and the other one you may simply know as, Aladdin's lamp, and any version of the genie may come with it. Now, what does this have to do with anything? That you have the power Now, for genies, it's make a wish, but you have the power to turn a wish into a manifestation. You have the power to turn the desire. A wish is a desire. Like in American Sign Language, the sign for hungry, desire, and wish are in essence the same concept. A wish is something you desire. A wish is something you hunger for. When you're hungry, you are wishing or desiring for food. Same concept. But do you understand that you have the ability to turn a wish into a lived experience? And you may say, well, no, I don't. Yes, you do. Yes, you do. Yes, you do. The fact that you have an idea in your mind that until it is spoken or written or expressed, it remains locked within. But the moment you rub the bottle, the poem, the word of affirmation, the prayer, the whatever it is now expressed. And once it is expressed, it changes something. Simply looking at yourself in the mirror and saying, I'm so ugly. You feel like, I don't like the way that feels when I hear myself say that. So you understand that your word has the ability to change how you feel. And because your word has the ability to change how you feel, your word has the ability to change how someone else feels, your word has the ability to create. So just because, in the grand scheme of, I don't know how well you know Spider-Man and the mythos of Spider-Man, but just because Peter Parker got frustrated and angry one day and said, I'm done. I'm not going to be Spider-Man anymore. Just throwing away the Spider-Man uniform had no effect on his powers. He was simply refusing to use them per se. But it did not change the fact that they were there. Likewise, we can deny, we can suppress, we can ignore our own personal power. We can ignore, deny, or suppress our divinity or our expression of our divinity. But it cannot be removed. It cannot be separated from us, not in truth. It is what you are. So rather than trying to deny, ignore, suppress, which I understand because the moment you realize that you are the divine in expression, it's great responsibility. I got that. I understand. And with that, there's this idea of, well, what does it mean for me to be responsible for my word? What does it mean for me to be accountable for my word, for the power that I am stewarding? What does it look like? What does it mean? For many of us, we don't like the idea. But it's the truth. It is what you are. So maybe the practice is, how do I move through whatever it is that is blocking me from my true power so that I can express it and experience it, not just for myself, but for the world? So as Rob Bell asks, what would it look like for you to approach tomorrow with a sense of honor and privilege, believing that you truly have work to do in the world and that this work matters, that it's needed, that you have a path and that you are working your craft? Remember what Bishop Flunder said. You have an understanding of the power of the word. It is time for you to use it. So what would it be like for you to wake up tomorrow morning and understand who and what you are to such a degree that you wake up with the honor, the privilege of knowing this? I approach today with a sense of honor and privilege. I believe that I have work that I choose to do in the world. Work that matters because I matter. Work that is needed because I am needed. That I have a self directed path and I am working and practicing and stewarding my life as my craft. Breathe. Emmett Fox says, Jesus tells us not to be discouraged because we do not overcome everything at once or because our progress seems to be slow. If we are moving, if things are improving, even though not very quickly, we have no need to be discouraged. We need only to work in a dedicated, continuous, and steady manner, provided that we are wholehearted in our efforts. And then, if so, these efforts are sure to be fulfilled. Wax on, wax off. This is what it means to live the science of mind as a way of life. And using all that it offers, we understand that we are practicing a new thought liberation theology. And we are practicing it in such a way that we understand it is a way of life. Not that enlightenment is before or after. Enlightenment is the way. It is the path. It is the practice. So when we understand that this is a way of life, we are able to use our personal power in greater forms of cooperation, collaboration, coordination with the collective power, our collective power. This is the power that we will create a world that works for all. This is the power that enables us to do that. United, we evolve. United, we stand. Divided, separated, we're going to continue to get such things as we're getting now. More racism, sexism, homomisia, etc. More wars and rumors of wars. So it is this power, our collective power, the power that is at the heart of God, the peacefulness at the heart of God, that is going to create a world that works for all. A world where the systemic ills that we face today are not only addressed, they're healed, they're deconstructed, and constructed. The world, the systems, the politics, the education, the theology, all of it is then constructed in more life-affirming ways. Which means, for example, yes, I know, slight sidebar, which means, for example, if someone does do something that they must go to jail for, jail is now a place of life-affirming rehabilitation and not warehousing. Imagine. That's what we mean. So we deconstruct the idea of penitentiaries as organized business, the plantation of the penitentiary, which is what it is now. It's deconstructed, and what is constructed in place of it is a place of healing and rehabilitation. That's what we're talking about. The systems are created in life-affirming ways, ways we have not yet seen demonstrated in the collective. But, and, science of mind and spirit offers us not only greater understanding of our personal power, but a greater application, a greater embodiment, a greater expression of our power for the good of all. Breathe. This week's affirmation declaration, I will say it first, and if it resonates with you, say it with me the second time around. I live as the active embodiment of my power, which makes me a presence for good together. I live as the active embodiment of my power, which makes me a presence for good. So it is. This week's journal questions or Thursday night study questions. What are some examples of when my personal power was challenged? When have I been or felt disempowered? Growing up, what was I taught that power was? What was I taught about my personal power? And what was I taught about other people's personal power? Number 3, how do I know what is mine to do or be as I express my power? Number 4, how am I a safe place when standing in my power? What are times or what are the times I have misused my power and I was not safe? Ooh, yeah, I got a whole flood of instances when that, woof. Number 5, considering some examples of the misuse of power, how can I help change these experiences? And lastly, how can I make a difference through my presence? And what are some small examples? And I emphasize small examples so that we don't jump into, well, I must run for president, or I must raise $1 million, or I must turn bread into wine. You still what, right? Don't think so grand that it's like these miracles of things that small things, small, regular, everyday things. Remember, washing the dishes is the path of enlightenment. Chopping wood, carrying water, doing laundry. All of these are the practice. So it need not necessarily be a breeze. As we enter into that space of infinite awareness, knowing that there is only one power, only one presence, and what it is we must be. It's all there is. And so in this breath, we simply allow ourselves the capacity to be aware of this. Even if the awareness for the moment right now is only a head thing where I can think it. I don't feel it right now, but I can think it. Well, then we shall think it to such a degree that the thinking, I will think of things I've never thought before, and then I'll sit and think some more. We think it to such a degree that the thinking shifts our beliefs. Because the more we think it, the thought then becomes like a groove on a record. It's now a belief. It's now a paradigm. It's now a thing of consciousness. It's now what I speak about, what I feel about, what my emotions are saying, and now my actions. So if it must begin as simply a thought, then it so be simply a thought for the time being. That which God is, I am. Think it. That which God is, I am. Think it. That which God is, I must be. Think it. Let it seep in right now. And as we let it seep in, it becomes the aroma. It becomes the embodied expression. Between me and God, there is no between. Right where I am is the heart of God. Right where I am, all that is true about God is true about me. God, as infinite peacefulness, is expressing itself in, through, and as me. I, therefore, am infinite peacefulness, expressing in my own individualized uniqueness. that which is infinite power. I am an individualized expression of it. That which is love, I am it. That which is joy, I am it. That which is the embodiment of a world that works for all, I am it. And as we acknowledge, I am that, which I am ever becoming more and more of my true self, because what I am is without end. We are infinite, eternal, and ever expanding consciousness, personified in this individualized expression. What it is, we are. And as we continue to recognize and embody and express, then that which we know to be our experience, our world must change. Our personal power is God power. The law, recognizing, receiving, and acting accordingly, does what it does, which means this prayer, this message, this awareness is already answered. It is already done. It is already manifesting. It is already shifting and changing and doing whatever it needs to do to become more than just a wish, more than just a desire, more than just a hunger. It is a realized, demonstrated experience that we call a world that works for all. That's what is so. And so it is. And so it is. Peace. Namaste. Blessings. Much love and appreciation. Be sure to check the chat to see if we are in fact meeting today for fellowship. If so, I'll see you there. If not, I'll see you during the week. Love you.